Up next on Newscenter 2's Nightcast, what can you do when the interference on your phone is coming from your next-door neighbor? Joe Webb will have a troubleshooter report.
A San Francisco judge clears the way for Wes McKinney's return to Tulsa.
Charges of cheating on departmental tests are being leveled tonight at some Tulsa firefighters.
And state lawmakers may have to spend some extra time coming up with a tax hike plan. We'll tell you why next.
You're watching KJRH TV 2, Tulsa. Live from KJRH in Tulsa, Sam Jones, Beth Ringel, meteorologist Gary Shore, and sports director Jerry Weber. This is Newscenter 2 Nightcast.
Good evening. Even though you can't see them, the air is full of radio waves. You do hear their magic on your radio or TV set, but what if those waves started leaking into your stereo and telephone? Newscenter 2 troubleshooter Joe Webb says some Tulsans are having that problem and they want it fixed.
Dale Horner likes to watch TV in the afternoon. He doesn't always get a decent picture, but it's not because his set is messed up.
There's a CBer that has more control of it than I do.
Dale blames the interference on this CB antenna in his neighbor's yard, and the problem doesn't stop with the television set.
Telephone's terrible. The CBer is onto it, and it's just hard to get any kind of a message or receive a message from anybody because of the CBer on the telephone.
Rufus Jefferson says his radio is set up according to FCC guidelines. He thinks.
Like I say, I don't know what my radio is putting out. I say 6.5 watts because my meter says 6.5 watts.
Rufus admits he's had problems with the FCC in the past, but he's taken care of them. He's proud of his radio. He says he's talked with other CBers from as far away as New York and the Bahamas. But Dale Horner says that enjoyment is coming at someone else's expense.
I mean, after all, I own the stereo. It's my home. And I have the phone. I'm paying the bill. I have the television. I'm paying the bill, and I think they're for my enjoyment, and I'd like to enjoy them rather than have some other fella having control outside.
I say if I'm interfering with them, let me know, and I will get off. I just as plain and simple as night and day.
The neighbors are circulating a petition asking that the CB be shut down. They plan on sending it to the FCC in Dallas. I talked with the FCC today, and they suggest that people settle the thing on their own. But Rufus says no one has come to him and complained in person. The FCC does say if the radio is messing things up, it needs to be fixed. They'll give Rufus 30 days to do that. We'll follow up on this then. Joe Webb, Newscenter 2 troubleshooter.
If you have problems with radio interference, call the FCC at area code 214-767-5690.
Well, today, fugitive financier Wes McKinney, it was reported...
Moving too fast to avoid an oncoming van that pulled in front of him. Deputy Bill Fern was rushing to a disturbance call when he crashed. A third vehicle, the green van, tried to avoid the wreckage, but instead became part of it. The deputy and two others were treated for minor injuries.
Well, if you've called the Code Enforcement Division with a complaint and it seems that no action has been taken, you're not alone.
Hammering out a new state tax plan.
And keeping some foreign visitors out. Those stories are next.
An official agreement of friendship. The campaign for new tax proposals takes to the road again, and some farm machinery takes to the air.
That's right. Those are just two of the stories in tonight's Nightcast Digest. President Reagan took his campaign for tax reform to New Jersey today. Critics in that state have blasted the president's reform plan, saying it would penalize their citizens by repealing deductions for state and local taxes. But the president stood firm and said once again that his plan would encourage economic growth and thus expand the tax base in that state.
India's prime minister is calling for greater efforts to achieve arms control. In a speech before the joint session of Congress, Rajiv Gandhi warned against what he called the polarization of the world into rival military blocs. The leader of the world's most populated democratic state also warned against the militarization of space.
Papal assailant Ali Ajah continued his testimony in a Rome courtroom today. He was shown photos taken at the Vatican the day he shot Pope John Paul. In those pictures, he spotted two men who he said may have also been involved in the plot against the Pope, but later said he couldn't be sure who they were.
Efforts are underway tonight to finalize the tentative settlement in the United Airlines pilot strike. The Executive Council of the Pilots Union met in Chicago today to complete talks aimed at ending the 4-week-old walkout. The head of the council says he's optimistic the contract will be approved.
And it took hundreds of hours to design and about 5 months to build it. Even then, this out-of-the-ordinary combine will probably never be seen in the fields harvesting crops. It is, in fact, meant to jump $30,000 antique cars, and this week it got its first tryout. Needless to say, you don't want to try this with your combine.
And that's Nightcast Digest for Thursday, June 13th, 1985. I can't believe what I just saw.
Well, can you imagine seeing that in the fields of Oklahoma?
No.
Not I.
You know, this was probably one of the nicest days I can ever remember.
It was, and we were all out, or at least all of us tried to get out and enjoy just a little bit. Gary's up next with a look at tomorrow. This man, this friend of mine, Gary Shore, who I respect and think a great deal of, his parents were dance instructors years ago in Florida, and Gary cuts a rather fancy rug himself. I had no idea.
I can't even do the two-step. Really.
Kind of the Fred Astaire of the radar screen, I suppose. I mean, you can just move all around that weather center, can't you?
Well, maybe if we dance a little bit, we can keep this beautiful weather going, huh? It's a shame it can't stay quite this gorgeous, but it will be basically good weather. It's just that it's going to get kind of hot and humid again for the weekend. We'll have plenty of sunshine. Right now, outside, 71 degrees, a 56 dew point. Sit down, Sam. 59% humidity, and the winds are out of the south at 8 miles an hour. The barometer's steady at 29.94. And let's take a look back at those record-breaking low temperatures this morning. You won't see these again in June for a long time. 45 degrees as close to us as Pryor this morning. University of Arkansas reported 44 degrees at Fayetteville. And here in Tulsa, we broke a record at 52. Our high of only 78 degrees was also well below the normals of 67 and 87. The records, well, the old record was 54 back in 1913. We broke that. Record high of 101 will stay in the books. And the pollution index in the good range at 44. Pollen count up to bad again at 1277. Almost all of it still in the form of mold spore. We need to get quite a bit of drying to get rid of the mold. Temperatures right now, these are the current readings, generally in the 60s, 65 over at Fayetteville and Hobart, 64, cool spot at Joplin, and also 62 up at Coffeyville. Out to the west, a little more of a south breeze, keeping it stirred up, and that's keeping temperatures in the lower 70s there. Brookside, 71 now. Bristow's down to 68 degrees, while off to the east it's 69 at Coweta and 70 up in Rogers County and also at the city of Muskogee. Now, in the satellite pictures today, you can see basically fair skies, and we do begin to see some very rapid thunderstorm development during the evening hours, though, out in western Kansas. There's a weak little trough of low pressure, and the warmth and humidity is starting to come back up. And so there's going to be a chance, just about a 10 or 20% chance through the forecast on into Sunday, of some widely scattered or isolated thunder showers. I think most of them will tend to shift more to the north and east of us tomorrow. These fronts don't mean a whole lot. That looks like they're not really going to affect us. But there is something interesting to look at in the Pacific. Hurricane Blanca with 100-mile-an-hour winds. It's drifting slowly to the west, well out off the coast. And there's also a tropical disturbance forming in the Gulf of Mexico that we'll have to keep an eye on. Now, the map for late tomorrow will show warm and even more humid air coming up into eastern Oklahoma, while the hot air starts to approach us across Texas. I think we'll see that hot air with 90s coming back over the weekend. This first front will wash out and not do much of anything, touch off some thunder showers mainly north of us tomorrow. But this second front does look stronger. That probably will not be in our area, though, until very late on Sunday. So we're going to have some pretty good weather until that gets here anyway. Tomorrow morning early, fair to partly cloudy. Mild, not as chilly as this morning. Just a 10% chance in most sections of seeing an isolated brief thunder shower. Maybe a 20% chance as you head out towards Enid or also up northeastward towards Joplin and Springfield for the morning hours. South to southeasterly winds. Then tomorrow I'll up the chance to about a 20% chance of a brief thunder shower. Again, mainly north and east of Tulsa for tomorrow. South winds at 8 to 20. Enough of a breeze on the lakes that it will be just a bit choppy if you're out there tomorrow afternoon and evening. Low temperatures tonight are going to range from 50s in cooler spots to the north and east to about 61 for Tulsa, while the highs tomorrow warmer than today. Low 80s in the northeast, 86 here. A warm 89, pushing 90 at Ponca City. And my extended Saturday and Sunday both. High temperatures in the low to mid 90s. But the best chance of storms looks like it will come later on Sunday and into Monday with that strong front that'll move into the northwestern states tomorrow. We'll have to watch the progress of that. That could be a pretty big weather maker around here the early part of next week. But in the meantime, pretty settled, if you don't mind the heat and humidity returning.
That sounds good. Do you tap?
You'll have to teach us a few steps, Gary. Thanks. Coming up in sports, TU basketball gets an NIT bid.
And a man from Taiwan makes golf history. Jerry Weber Sports is up next.
Dancer?
Do the boogaloo all night.
Boogaloo.
Is that good?
Yeah, I guess that's good.
I better get into golf, though, because
Okay.
that's my best subject. T.C. Chen made history today en route to the first-round lead in the U.S. Open Golf Championship.
We can sign an organ donor card and have two close relatives co-sign it.
I think it's essential since we
Channel 2 is co-sponsoring the Second Chance program, and if you would like to obtain a donor card, just write us at TV2 Donor Card, Box 2, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 74101. Or, if it's more convenient, just stop by the studios. Incidentally, starting this Saturday at 9 in the morning at Catoosa High School, they'll be holding a fundraiser for Gail Crombie. She needs a liver transplant. The bake sale, auction, garage sale, and raffle will last all day. And that's our edition of Newscenter 2's Nightcast for this Thursday night. Thank you for joining us.
Join Karen Keith tomorrow morning for Oklahoma Today. We'll see you back at 6. See you then. Good night.
If you have a consumer complaint or a problem we can help you with, call the Newscenter 2 troubleshooter at 742-NEWS.